There we go. So hopefully that's now showing for people. So my name's Charlie, and I lead the team in the Central Graduate Admissions Office that deals with the processing of applications and answering all the inquiries that come with them, and a range of other things that happen before the applications go through to the academic departments for assessment. So just going to look at some of the elements of the application form that may cause some people to need a bit of assistance with. So we'll have a look through those, and I'm not sure whether I'll be able to see the any hands up in the chat while I'm doing this, but we'll do our best to pick up questions afterwards. The starting point, obviously, when you go to the course page, there'll be a link that you can click on the button to start an application to that course. You'll need to start by creating an application account. And one of the key things I've noted in the corner of this slide is that remember which email address you use to set up your account. We get quite a lot of applicants who call us in a panic because they can suddenly no longer access their application account. And when we kind of investigate what's going on, suddenly discover that they've got lots of different email addresses and they forgot which one they used to register their account in.
Sorry to interrupt, Charlie, but the view that I can see is still on the page 1 of you.
Okay. Yes, this can be a bit funny as to what it shows. On my screen, it's showing the correct thing. I'll try it again. So, okay. Well,
that's I can see the second slide now. Yeah.
Okay. It may just be on the non-presentation view, but anyway, hopefully it's at least legible. So yeah. Once you've created an account, then you'll go when you started your application to the one that you selected on the course page. Then you'll have a screen showing the set of my applications. And that's where you can switch between different applications if you've got multiple ones that you are editing. Once you're in an application, if you want to start another one, you always just make sure you click the Save and Close button when you go back to this screen, and then it will give you a button to start a new one. So if you don't close down the current one that you're working on, then it won't give you the option to start a new one. So that's something to bear in mind with that. Just a few words around the how the application form works. So it comprises a series of tabbed pages, and you can see in the slide there's some tabs across the top with some symbols next to them. So if you've not visited a tab, or the current tab will be shown as a white square. You've got red crosses showing screens that you have visited but not fully completed yet. And then once you have successfully completed the screen, it will show as a blue tick. So there's different symbols there to help you make sure you know where you are in terms of making progress to being able to submit the thing at the end. It will tell you if it thinks there are mandatory fields that have not been completed, or there are some fields that have data that it can't accept in them. So when you try to navigate from one page to another, it will throw up an error message. If you click cancel on receipt of that error message, then it will stay on that page and it will show you all the problems it's found highlighted as sort of yellowish colored highlighting to so you can just have a look through those fields and work out where the problem is. So the screen that I'm showing here enables you to select which type of application you're making. So by default, it will be a standard application, but there are some other types, or either for students who are already enrolled here on a taught master's course, or the application fee has already been paid through our separate online store site, for example. Then you would select the appropriate type of application. If you select anything other than standard, then you need to enter a code to show that you have made the payment, or you're eligible for that fee to be waived. So So yeah, it will default to standard as the normal selection, and once it's happy, it will allow you to continue to the rest of the form. So just some notes around application fee waivers. So we offer a range of schemes whereby people don't need to pay the fee if they're eligible. So if you are resident in a low-income country, as defined by the World Bank, the OECD, or the UN, then you don't need to pay the fee. And similarly, if you declare yourself to be a refugee or displaced person, those are in those cases, you select the standard type of application, and when you answer the relevant questions, then it will configure itself so you don't go through the payment screens at the end. The other types of waiver schemes involve you receiving a code that you put into the beginning screen. So if you come from a low enough income background that you received a very high level of support from one of the UK regional funding bodies during your undergraduate degree, then you might be eligible for a waiver, or if you're in receipt of one of a range of means tested benefits. Those who've participated in the Unique Plus graduate access internship scheme, or have applied and been considered eligible even if you didn't actually get offered an internship. I've mentioned those Oxford current PGT students, and there are also waiver schemes for courses at the doctoral level that are considered to be kind of related, so that you pay for the first one and you may get one or two additional applications for free. There's a published list of related courses, so you'll see that on the course page to which you're applying. It will tell you which other courses you can get a free application to. Another thing to note is how to declare extenuating circumstances. So I realise that many of you will be of a kind of vintage that your undergraduate degree may have had some impact of the COVID pandemic. So you can use that section of the application form to explain if there were particular opportunities that you missed out on due to that. Of course, there could be a whole range of other circumstances that you want to record there, and those will be visible directly by the academic assessors, and they will decide whether any extenuating circumstances will do justify an adjustment in their assessment. So the most important thing is that rather than focusing on describing the circumstances, what we want to know is what the precise impact of those circumstances was, because the assessors need something quantifiable on which to base any sort of adjustment. So if you're able to be very specific, to say, you know, during this period, my grades dropped by such and such because of this circumstance, or I was unable to take advantage of these particular opportunities, which would have given me a stronger application. So that's the kind of way you need to express that. There is a separate mechanism if you wish to declare extenuating circumstances that are very sensitive. So things that go into your application form can potentially be viewed by quite a broad range of staff across the university who are involved in admissions work once the form is on our systems. So if there's something very personal and sensitive, then you can submit a form that will be handled off system and only made available to the academic assessors. There is information about that in our application guide, and it explains kind of how to access that sensitive circumstances mechanism. One thing I would say for all sorts of extenuating circumstances, we really don't want kind of sort of graphic photos of, I mean, people send us these photos of kind of injuries they suffered in an accident and these kind of things. That's not really what the assessors can make any use of, as we really need to focus on what the impact of that was. So you can explain that you suffered an accident or you were ill between a particular period, but we need to know kind of what effect that had on the strength of your application, rather than kind of sifting through kind of various kind of medical images. Going back to the pages of the application form, as we've already discussed, it's very important to register your referees as soon as you can in the process. So you don't need to go through all the preceding of the pages of the application form first. Once you've started the application and done the very first screen, you can go straight to the registering your referees and fill in those details. And as soon as you complete the details and tick the box to say you're ready for a notification to be sent, then the email will go out there, and your referees can will receive that and can get on with preparing their reference, because no doubt your referees will have large numbers of people requesting them to be a referee, so they will be pushed for time to get through them all. So the earlier you can do it, the better. You will be notified each time one of your referees does submit a reference for you, as long as they do so using the link they've received in the notification. So it'll tell you that Professor so-and-so has submitted, but the other two have not yet, and it will keep updating you as that changes. It doesn't matter how many referees you have registered, whether there are any that are registered but don't submit. All we're counting is that you have at least 2 that do submit. The screenshot shows the details that you enter into the application form. If you've got good eyesight or a large screen, you'll see that I have entered the referee's email as fakeemail@gmail.com, just as an example, because we try to discourage people from registering referees with personal email addresses. If you do need to register them with a personal email address because, for example, they've retired and don't have access to an official one anymore, then we do ask some additional questions in that referee page, just so that we understand why that's happened, and to give us some more assurance that it really has come from the person that you've registered. If you've looked at the university application form in previous years, you may have noticed that we used to ask for people to upload a separate CV with their application. This has now been integrated into the application form, so you've got a series of questions that cover the sorts of material that people would typically put in a CV. So the bit in the screenshot covers kind of professional qualifications and training. Each section will start being minimized, and once you click yes to say you want to report something, then it will expand to show the spaces you can add things in, and you can add extra rows if you need more than is immediately visible. We've already had people just saying no to all these, I don't have anything to report, and then trying to upload a separate CV. We do say that if you upload a separate CV when you're not supposed to, then we will remove it. So if you've answered no to all of these questions, then you're really undermining your application, because the application assessors won't see any of the material that they should be seeing from your CV. So don't just think you can answer no and then cover that off separately. There are a handful of courses that are still using separate CVs, so that will be shown in the how to apply section of the course page if you are applying to additional courses, and one or more of them may use that system. The declaration page of the application form is the final one. So when you get that far, it will only let you complete the final declaration if it's satisfied with the rest of your form. So if you're finding you can't type your name into the declaration section, then you need to look at the tab headings for the previous pages. If there are any that are not showing blue ticks, that's when you need to go back and check what the problem is. As I've explained, select cancel when you try to move on, and the yellow highlighting will give you clues. So in this final page, you need to show that you accept the terms and conditions. Obviously, we're asking you to declare that your application is accurate and complete, and you haven't missed out any relevant information. And the other thing that is relevant here, you'll see that there's in the screenshot, it shows your full name is currently recorded as. We just find that sometimes the browser's autofill will mess up people's names. They'll end up with their first name listed also as a middle name in addition. So check how your name appears, and if anything is showing incorrectly in that, then go back to the contact details page of the application form, and you can edit it so that it will show your name correctly, which will save a lot of problems further down the line. That declaration page will also show how many documents you've uploaded to your application on the supporting documents page. So make sure that you've uploaded the set that you're supposed to. It will only give you upload slots for documents that are relevant to the course. So you'll need to upload at least one supporting personal statement or research proposal document. Kind of, it will be either or. It doesn't mandate the uploading of a transcript, because it may be that you will get your transcript sent via a digital service. So that isn't mandatory at the point of submitting your application, but you will need to, that transcript will need to have arrived with us in time for the deadline from that digital service, so that we can download it and add it to your application, so that it contains all the necessary elements. You will be asked in the application form to whether you wish to nominate a preference for a particular college. If you're offered a place on the course, you will be assigned to a college. You get to nominate one. There's no guarantee that you would end up at that particular college. Some are more oversubscribed than others. It may also depend on whether the college has filled its quota of people in that particular subject area for the year. So typically colleges will want a broad cross-section of subject areas covered. So they'll have an idea of how many students they want from particular subject areas in a given year to create that balance. There is information in our website about kind of what different colleges offer places for this particular course, and you can look up kind of key information about them, to find the things that may be important to you, whether that's location, the availability of accommodation, other facilities. So have a look at that before you submit your application, because you're not permitted to change your college preference after submitting your application. So the only reasons we'll move people is if you need to be at a different college to take up a particular piece of funding, or if you have a disability that means there's an access issue for that particular college, and you need to be placed at one that is accessible to you. But otherwise, you don't get any input to that process after you've nominated your original preference. About 40% of people don't nominate a college preference. That's absolutely fine. You'll get placed at one, and it has no bearing on your chances of getting accepted onto the course. The course decision is entirely made by the academic department. So some tips. We talked about giving referees plenty of time. We always advise people to apply well ahead of the deadline. If you apply typically at least a week ahead of the deadline, then we'll have been able to process your application to check everything that was supposed to be in it is actually there ahead of the deadline passing. And we'll once we have done that initial processing, you'll get an email either confirming that it is ready for assessment or saying that, what things may be missing. So unfortunately, if you submit relatively close to the deadline, typically within a week of the deadline, then you won't get that notification in time to be able to resolve any issues. So, if you don't apply at least a week ahead, then it's really on you in terms of making absolutely sure that you've submitted everything you should have done, and that none of your documents have got corrupted in when you've uploaded them, that kind of thing. So best to give yourself plenty of time there. I'm sure Victoria's talked a little bit about this already in terms of the specification for this course, but obviously that's true for any other courses you may be applying to, is really pay close attention to the specification of the documents in the how to apply section of the course page. So it will say exactly how long documents should be, what they should contain, and you know, the closer you stick to that, the better your chances of success. Make sure that when you're uploading supporting documents, you have selected the right document. We get lots and lots of emails from people saying that, oh, I accidentally uploaded a draft version of my document, can I replace it? So you can only replace those kind of documents up to the point at which your application is ready for assessment. So you can do that in the self-service portal. But once your application is considered ready for assessment, then we don't permit those kind of changes, because we get vast numbers of people otherwise asking for replacing the document because they've realized that there's a missing comma somewhere. And obviously we don't have the resources to be able to deal with those kind of volumes of requests for change, because we have to check the document every time. So the only kind of sub changes we would make after you're ready for assessment is if, you know, you had a significant new achievement, something like a new academic publication, for example, that could make a meaningful difference to your chances of success, or if there was some substantial kind of factual error that you've suddenly become aware of that needs to be resolved. But we're not going to permit kind of redrafting changes once you're ready for assessment. And as I've already mentioned, you know, remember which email address you use, because otherwise you won't be able to get into your account, and you won't be receiving the notifications if you're looking at the wrong address. So once you've submitted your application, you'll get access to our self-service tool, so you can upload missing documents or maybe updated versions of your transcript if you've got a transcript with some additional grades that you didn't have at the time. You can edit referee details and resend notifications. It does allow you to resend reference notifications once per day to each referee, but please don't abuse that facility. You know, if you're not sure whether your referees received it or whether they're going to be able to do it in time, then you really need to engage with them directly. We've already had a couple of referees flagging up that they've had people resending the notifications every day to them, which they're not exactly very enthusiastic about, and we don't want them to either not submit your reference or submit a disgruntled reference rather than the glowing one that you deserve. You can change your personal details, so if you know you need to use a different email address, or there's some other details that need to be changed, then you can do that in the self-service portal. You can check the documents you've uploaded to your application. Once the decision has been made on your application, you will be able to see that outcome in the self-service portal. You'll also get that emailed to you, so you don't need to keep logging in to look for it. Just wait for the email to come. If you're offered a place, you'll be able to access the contractual documentation associated with your offer, so you know, the course information sheet and the handbook and that kind of thing. You'll be able to accept or decline your offer. If you're offered a place, obviously we want to know whether you're likely to take it up or not. That isn't an obligation at that point, so we very much encourage people to always accept the offer unless you definitely know you're not going to take it up. You can always withdraw later, and that's perfectly normal to do so. If you know, it could be for funding reasons, it could be because you decided you for whatever reason prefer an offer from another institution. So you will be able to withdraw that application later. So don't hesitate to accept it unless you really know that you're not going to take it up. And then once you've completed the conditions associated with your offer, then you'll be able to use the portal to complete your university card form, which begins the process of registering on the course. There's lots of information online to help you with the process, so you can see all the list of courses and filter those by keywords. There's a link to the application form to return to log in once you've started it. There's a whole raft of information in our application guide. It steps you through completing the application form and all the associated policies and processes. We publish a broad range of FAQs, but the graduate admissions central team is there to help you if you have any issues with completing the application form, any sort of general questions about the process. If it's a detailed question about the course, then you'd need to speak to Victoria or administrators in the department for advice on that. But if it's to do with the kind of general application process, status of your application, etc., then you can email us via that address. We operate a telephone answering line as well during working hours. The university does close for 10 days or so during the Christmas period, but the graduate admissions team will be answering written inquiries during that period. So, don't worry that you can't ask important questions at that time, and obviously you can still submit your applications during that time. So don't feel like there's nothing happening during that period, because obviously we're well aware that the deadlines fall very soon after the closure period. So do ask us any questions that you can't find the answer to online. And that was the set of things that I was talking you through. So perhaps we can now try to deal with any questions that have arisen. Victoria, are you there to assist with the questions?
I am. Yes, hold on. So I couldn't get my cursor to move over the unmute.
Yes, I know the feeling.
And I now realise the space bar does that job. So what I might do quickly is, if I can get my cursor to move onto my other screen, I'll move up the list to the first question. So the first question that came in after you started was 145. If we submit 2 applications, e.g. NERC DTP and the BBSRC DTP, will referees have to write references twice?
So yes, if you apply to multiple courses, then you will need to re-register your referees each time. Obviously, they can just upload the same reference letter if they want to say the same things about you each time. That's not a problem. As well as uploading the reference letter, they do get asked a few questions, but they are quite brief, so I don't think that's a big drain on referees' time. If referees themselves contact us to say, can you transfer my reference across to a different application, we will do that, but we won't do that if applicants ask us to do that, because we do want to give referees the opportunity to say different things about different courses, because sometimes they do genuinely want to say different things about your suitability for different courses.
And I think also, so for NERC DTP and BBSRC DTP, we both ask for anonymous references, and we anonymize, but not everyone's part of the anonymization trial. So it might be that, and some referees rather, really don't like anonymous references, and they might prefer to write an unanonymous reference given the opportunity. So that would be another reason why they couldn't just be blanket shared, I think, between applications. The next question is, can all my referees be from industry, or do they have to be academic?
Yes, I mean, I think that's more of a question for the department. So each course will say in the how to apply section what its policy is on where references should come from. So typically they'll normally be academic. Some courses will say kind of 2 academic and 1 professional is okay. If you're someone who's returning to academia after a substantial period doing other stuff, then we would normally advise you to speak to the course administrator to agree what the best approach would be. Obviously, we realize that it may not be easy to find 3 referees, so I suspect most often our advice is to do the best you can. If they're not all academic, then we'll live with that. But Victoria, is there anything you wanted to add to
that? Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously it depends how far on you are in your career and in your life stages. My tutor from university is evidently dead by now, so there's no way I could include him as an academic reference. So we will, we'll take each case as it comes. If you do have a possible living academic reference, even if it is from some time ago, that can be helpful if they remember who you are. Then you obviously made an impression, hopefully a good one. But yeah, contact me if you're in doubt. So there's somebody here who they've completed their masters and got their results, but they don't have the certificate, which they won't get until after it's conferred. Do they have to wait till graduation to submit the application, or can they submit now with just the transcript? Yes, you submit now with just the transcript. We don't need anything, certificates or anything, until 31st of August. That would be a condition of offer, I would say.
Yep.
Can I use the personal email of my external MRes project supervisor who no longer has access to the institutional email? So I'm guessing this must be an Oxford MRes person. But yes, I mean, do you use personal email addresses, or do they have to be institutional for referees?
Yeah, so as we noted on the references page of the form, if you do put in an address that looks like a personal one, it uses a domain that is a typical personal email address domain. It will ask you a couple of extra questions just so we get some additional information about why you've done that. So, and the referee should also just note in their reference letter why they've used a personal email address, and say it's perfectly normal that people will be retired, all this kind of thing. So while we clearly prefer to institutional addresses to be used, personal ones can be used as long as we get a valid reason for that.
Great, thank you. That's really helpful because I missed that bit. I was trying to answer some questions. If we have publications in preparation, can we include this under the publications section of the CV form? That's probably one for me, isn't it? Because that's a program specific question.
Yeah, Bill, yes, you can start, and then I'll tell you if I think that's out of kilter with what other people might be doing. Yeah.
Okay, I would say yes, but make clear it is in preparation.
Exactly.
Good. Please can you explain what the R8-1 code is for, and also the project codes on the advertised projects in, for example, earth sciences?
Yeah, so the R81 is just the course code. So the title of the course is a bit unwieldy to be storing in all our databases. So each of the courses will have this course code as well. That's how the system thinks about them. In terms of the studentship codes, typically where departments are inviting people to apply for particular studentships, there'll be a code which typically sort of up to 10 digits long, I think, and you will put that into the funding page of the application form if you want to apply for a particular studentship that they're advertising. You'll be considered for the course in general, but it's just if you want, if they instruct you to say that you should put down one of these studentship codes, then you can do that.
Yeah, so I'd add to that from our perspective. If you're applying to the DTP, you'll be using the R81 code on your application. You can mention that Earth Sciences studentship code in your statement of purpose or something, because that's allied to a project, a specific project. But you wouldn't be applying to that project code if you're applying to us. If you put in a parallel application to the Earth Sciences department, that's when that project code, studentship code, would be really essential, I would say. And then can we register our references before submitting our application? Yeah, I think,
yes.
Charles, you've already answered your question.
Yes, that's absolutely almost essential, really, because we know that people often want to work on their application close to the deadline because the notifications only go when you ask them to. So go to the references page, fill in that stuff pretty much the first thing you do, so the notifications go out, and then you can carry on working on the rest of your application. There's no need to do all the rest of it first.
Okay. Is World Education Service evaluation of the transcript compulsory? So I wasn't sure about the World Education Service part of that.
No, we don't require any sort of external comparison of qualifications. So we publish the some international qualifications guidance. So there's about 30 countries, the most common places we get applications from. We kind of publish information about equivalences. If you have a qualification that's not from one of those countries, you can, as long as you submit the transcript, and if your transcript includes details on kind of the grading scheme, then please include all those extra pages as well. But it will be up to the academic department in assessing your application to determine the equivalences of that application. We use there's a national qualifications body called ECTIS, so we use guidance from there and other information to establish those equivalences.
Great. Well, I think that is all the questions now. I think I've got all of them from 1:45 onwards, where they started being asked in this section. I will say thank you very much, Charlie. That was really, really helpful, and actually helpful for me as well, because I've never actually been through the form myself. So good to get to know what it looks like from the applicant perspective. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, and best wishes for everyone's applications. And if you do need to speak to me and my team, then please do so, and we'll be very happy to help.
Oh, yes, just one final thing, actually, that's just occurred to me. So the process for only paying one application fee, if I remember correctly, candidates will pay the fee for the first application that they submit. And then after that, if they want to submit a second one, they would contact your team, Graduate Admissions, and get it
That's right. Yep. So all they need to do is to say, I've submitted an application for this course. I now want to apply for that course. Can I have a code? And then we'll check that you really have submitted for the right course, and that the one you want to submit for is covered by the relevant combination. Then we'll just send you back a code. You can put that into the application form, and you won't have to pay the fee.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, and have a lovely rest of your afternoon.
Thank you very much, and you.
Take care. Bye.